So this is the Endorphin shuttle system, and what this is a 84 HP modular system with 5 of the different modules from the Endorphin's range under one front panel. So over here on the right hand side we've got the shuttle control. So this is a USB MIDI to CV converter. You've got 16 different CV outputs, so you can generate a lot of CV from a MIDI controller. We've then got the further generator, which is a Buchla style kind of complex oscillator. So we've got a carrier, a modulator, a modulation bus between the two oscillators, and then a wave shaper wave folder on the end here. We've then got the gateway, which kind of gives you access to some of the deeper functions of the grand terminal, and also has this kind of intelligent tuning system. So basically you can take a spare output of your oscillator and you took your CV input here, and then you can basically kind of retune on the fly. The tuner is kind of listening to the oscillator to check that it's kind of staying in key. So then onto the grand terminal. Grand terminal is basically 2 kind of function generators, or like attack, decay, or rise and fall envelope generators. These can be cycled as they are now, as you can see. In the middle section here we've got 2 digital filters that can be 8 different types of filter. We've also then got multifunctional, like multi-effects output here with one control up here. So the attack decay envelopes, as I forgot to mention, can also run fully as oscillators, and then we've got a key input. So essentially we could get 4 oscillators out of this small system. And then we've got a 4-channel mixer, but the cockpit is kind of quite different in a lot of ways, because these inputs are actually stereo. These 2 are stereo inputs, and they actually send to this input, and you can use a TRRS, which is the kind of like iPhone microphone input cable, and that can send out of here and then go back in on one cable. So it's quite interesting. It can also be configured on the back via some jumpers to adjust these to just be mono inputs as well. So I will just say that Endorphins have a range of videos online of demonstrating each one of the different modules within this case, and that will give you some of the kind of deeper information that I may be skirting over in this kind of review or kind of overview of the whole system. So the shuttle control is really kind of like a big part of the whole system. It basically allows you to take incoming MIDI messages and generate CVs, lots of different types of CVs. So there's actually an editor, an online editor for the shuttle control. So that looks like this. So I don't know if you can see that, but basically we've got all these different kind of, these are the kind of set different layouts, I suppose you would call them, and then basically within here you've got various different types of information. So you can get like pitch, and you've got different pitch scales, so you can use hertz per volts or like 1.2, which is Buchla standard. You've got gates, triggers, velocity, CC messages, key pressure, aftertouch, like LFOs, noise, taps, and then you've got like tapped LFOs, clocks, envelopes, probability triggers, quantized random voltages or unquantized random voltages, and then you've got arpeggiators as well. So if we go to the arpeggiator, you can then change the kind of way that these are functioning, and you can use the CC messages to adjust these, say like the up down or the division of the trigger and stuff like that. So it's really simple to reprogram your shuttle control using an iPad or your computer. So for this patch, what I've done is take the Rolly blocks. I've got a little two voice thing going on, like a little polyphonic, like two voice duophonic thing. And you can hear that there's some, as I push harder, there's some modulation going on. And then this block over here is set up to control the two filters and also some other modulations. So if we take a look down here, you can see my polyphonic or key pressure, and you start to hear that. And then if I just drone this for a second like that, and then you can see the three on the left hand side that are now green will start to change when I move my hand across this left hand side block. So you can see how the shuttle control kind of plays a big part in the whole kind of ecosystem of the shuttle. So in that patch, the gateway was being used as a kind of 3-channel mixer. So what we did was take the two outputs of our oscillators, so one into the key input here, the other one into the CV input here, and then we took the dropout, went into the second side of the gateway, or like the bottom, so you've got kind of two identical sides up here, and then we took the output of the envelope in cycling mode as an oscillator and into here as well. So we've got, so that is this oscillator here, and then here's the other two oscillators being introduced now. So they're going through now, 3 channels are now going through one side of the Grand Terminals filters. So we're on the Moog kind of style filter. Then we've got a kind of acidy style filter. We've then got a low pass gate with adjustable kind of ring length or decay length. We've then got a resonant low pass gate. Then we move on to the top row, we've got a 12 dB low pass filter. And 12 dB high pass. Band pass. And then we've got a comb filter, which is kind of like, I suppose it's an all-pass filter, so you can get weird kind of like flangey sort of effects out of it. Start to listen to some of the effects as well, so got lots of reverbs. They all go up to like endless decay, which is what you want from a reverb really, I suppose. Then we've got a shimmer effect. Again, endless decay. Then got more reverbs. And this is, I think, the spring with like a pretend kind of if you were kicking the spring reverb or something. And then got like a ping pong delay with tap tempo. Another delay with speed on the control up here. Then we have, I think this is the chorus. So yeah, the Ground Terminal has a lot of kind of capabilities, as well as being able to use it as envelopes or LFOs. You can use it as an oscillator. It's then got loads of built-in effects. So for that patch that you just heard, we've actually got another two voice thing going on, but instead of doing kind of duophonic like we were doing last time, what we've got is two separate lines, so kind of like multi-timbral, I suppose you might say. And I suppose the kind of first voice is the bass line, so that is just running, as you can see down here, from Ableton. So we've actually got just like a channelized bass line, so that's, and you can hear it's obviously quite like acidy and stuff. That's because we're using the acid filter type down here. And then obviously we had the other voice, which is kind of like an arpeggiator thing, so that was using the XY pad to open and close the filter, and also add some other modulation. So if we take a look down here again, and then we do some cross modulation between the two oscillators with the pressure. So the harder I push here, the more modulation between the two oscillators we get. So that's really quite useful. We've also, on the block on the right hand side here, we've actually got key pressure, or like aftertouch, so you can see how that affects the sound as well. So then obviously during the patch I also had the 808 running, or the Miami, which is an 808 clone. I've changed the jumpers on the back here to give you a mono input. So I've got a mono input here, and I can mute that with the mute switches. So these are clickable pots that can be muted. So you can see here that obviously the light, this LED gets brighter when there's change in volume, but we can also do that once the channel's muted. So I can mute the channel, turn it down, unmute it, or mute it, turn it up, and then come back in. So in conclusion, I'd have to say I really like the shuttle system. The shuttle control really allows you to use your computer and a MIDI controller at the same time to really kind of open up the whole system with a lot of modulation, which is really quite useful, because I think without a lot of modulation coming from here, I think you would need a kind of another rack with some more modulation and some other kind of useful utilities, I suppose I would say. I did find that with a couple of patches, I felt like I wanted maybe another mixer, like a little mono mixer, or some VCAs. So maybe those kind of like utility modules, it would be preferable to have those either in the system or kind of off to the side. I found I was using like quite a lot of these sort of things, and also I had some little attenuators as well that I was using in various different patches, just to kind of really dial in the CVs coming from here. But if that was kind of included in the system, then that would have been, I suppose it would have kind of made it a bit more cohesive. But having said that, I do really like the shuttle. I think the Further Generator is possibly one of the best kind of complex oscillators out there. It just gives you so much, and a kind of wide range of tonal possibilities, but then also kind of all these different things, like, I mean, the square wave output has got pulse width on the symmetry control up here. We've also got ring modulation, so a lot of the other kind of oscillators don't have that. So yeah, I think the Further Generator is great. Grand Terminal, it's got a lot of functionality. Some stuff that I didn't kind of touch on in this kind of overview was if you hold down these, you can pan your outputs, pan your two inputs here, and then you can also change the gain as well. So I suppose the whole system is kind of designed as a performance system, and it leads you down this kind of path of a two-voice thing, generally, I found. Because the two filters are obviously tied to the VCAs, so there's two single VCAs and two filters, and then they're inherently tied to the reverbs and the delays and the effects. So the whole system is 2,300 euros, which is obviously quite a lot of money. But I think with the amount of kind of customizability that you can do with it, it's not too bad. And if you were to buy all the modules separately, I'm sure it would be more expensive. And it comes in a nice case, and it's quite portable. And I think if you were really clever about how you programmed, say, a computer and had it kind of plugged in here, then you could essentially take this out on the road and have the patch, have a fixed patch, and then your computer or your iPad or whatever you were using connected to the shuttle control could then just spit out kind of almost like a preset, kind of spit out all the MIDI information converted into CVs, and then that could just control massive aspects of the patch that you could still interact with. So yeah, I think there are kind of a few things that are maybe missing, or I would have liked to have seen there, but I think overall it sounds great, and I think a lot of kind of flaws can be forgiven when something sounds really good.